The Content Crowd is a podcast where we like to explore what makes content resonate, from creative habits to point of view shifts to behind the scene breakdowns, so that listeners and also me can stop mimicking others and start making something that actually matters. I always like to start off these episodes by reminding you guys that this podcast is sponsored by Scrappy ABM. Scrappy ABM helps you build repeatable account based. It is also accountable. I should say that, but it helps you build repeatable account-based plays and teaches you how to own ABM so that you can bring ABM in-house when you're ready. I am joined by fellow marketer, content creator, also scrappy ABMer, Evan Cox. Evan, thank you so much for being here.
Glad to be here. Thanks for the invite, Trevor.
I've waited a long time to have you on here because I know that you're very busy and you've got a lot of other things going on, but I thought we would ship off into the holidays with something that I've been really interested in talking about. But before we get into that, I want you to sort of introduce yourself. I already said you were a fellow scrappy ABMer, but you do a lot more than that. So I want to give you the floor here.
I appreciate that, Trevor. And we've known each other for a number of years. We've worked together in a couple of settings. We also have a shared passion for a couple of things outside of marketing, dogs and pugs. We send a lot of GIFs and memes back and forth in the dog space.
Yeah.
Pho versus pho, and the pronunciation of Vietnamese food. And then also, we already have a sponsor for today's episode, so it's not a new formal sponsor, but I have a surprise for you before we get started. Are you ready?
Okay. I'm ready.
Did you think that this would show and see any airtime in our conversation today?
Okay, so this episode is officially partly sponsored by Trash Pandas, which is my favorite minor league baseball team, mostly because I live next door to them, but that's awesome. I bought that. Me and Evan, I think we get to meet each other like maybe once a year, and so I had to buy the Trash Pandas hat. I'm kind of sad that I didn't get the one with the Trash Pandas, the actual Trash Panda logo on it, like with Sprocket on it. I'll have to. That'll be a Christmas surprise, I guess. But
I wear it proudly. I wasn't wearing it today because I was like, I don't want to wear a hat and then be committed to the whole day with it.
Yeah.
But I'm like, it is the unofficial accompaniment to our conversation today.
Yeah. I will say, if anybody's listening or watching and they haven't explored the names of minor league baseball teams, you should do that today as like a end your day sort of fun project. It's
either that or bird names. Like all the memes that go around of like all of the weird names for songbirds. It's like minor league baseball teams and songbirds are like that is a great, perfect way to kick off your holiday week.
Well, yeah, and then maybe even get into a new hobby. Maybe your new hobby is you realize you really like minor league baseball and bird watching. So
you could maybe do both at the same time, depending on the day.
Probably, yeah. Well, yeah, you could. I mean, maybe you go to a minor league baseball field and bird watch because they're not playing right now. So maybe you could get a little bit of leeway and to kind of walk around and check it out.
I love it. So I derailed us. Let's get back on track. Where did you want to start off the conversation today?
Yeah. So just to build you up a little bit more, did you even introduce yourself? I think you went straight into us sharing.
Oh, I did.
You didn't? Yeah.
Yeah. So we met in a couple of different settings. We've worked together. My understanding of account-based marketing really expanded right around the time that you and I started collaborating and working together and realizing that there's more than one way to produce content. We've talked about this a lot, both in-house and Slack and publicly, that it's often the traditional route of lead gen that gets a black eye in today's market, not because it's terrible or the worst thing to do, but because everyone wants the CTA to be book a meeting or to schedule a demo or to commit to this hard and fast thing, where not every content piece has to have a direct hard call to action with that much emphasis behind it. Yeah. There's lots of ways to take someone on a seamless, efficient, and effective customer journey, and that's what we want content to do. So I spend a lot of my time both writing, creating, designing content, making sure that Scrappy and other brands are well connected with audience based on the content that we create.
Yeah, I love that you brought that up, that there's not necessarily a certain way to do it. The lead gen aspect of content creation where you're creating something with the plan of then offering something, an offshoot off of that piece of content that somebody can take with them in exchange for an email address. We talked about this yesterday. It's like a tale as old as time. There's nothing wrong with that, but but when you have a cold audience that just saw something you created for the very first time and you're immediately going into that, it can be a little little off-putting. And I really learned how to, maybe schmooze isn't the right word, but I feel like I really learned how to schmooze the CTA from you, because when we started working together, I had just come off of being a StoryBrand guide for the last 2 or 3 years. And
Yeah.
not that StoryBrand in any way tells you to immediately go in for it, but one of the things that I sort of picked up was like each email or each point of contact should have some kind of CTA. And so, but that doesn't mean book a call. That doesn't mean that you are immediately going for that. There's a lot of other ways to go in that. So from working with you, a lot that I learned from you was like, yeah, it doesn't all like the immediate, outreach doesn't have to be book a call. And that kind of hurts people sometimes, especially when we bring in ABM terminology and we're really thinking about the account progression model. And when we're
Hmm.
in the awareness stage, each a conversion doesn't have to be that they booked a call with you. Conversion can just mean they actually opened the email, or they visited your website and they actually did something that shows that they are, trending towards learning more about you.
That's
And
right.
so I think that is something that I've pushed really hard, and I know that we're kind of all been on board with that we're really trying to educate, particularly our clients, but trying to educate that like a conversion doesn't always mean this like hard and fast, like you have to get somebody on a call right away. And I think that that
Yeah.
that mindset shift has been super beneficial, because I think we've seen a lot of success with getting people to reply to an email, which is like crazy to think about, but that's something that you can ask somebody to
Yeah.
do. You got a webinar or something coming up, ask them if they want to throw in any questions, that they may not get, they're like things like that opens up that conversation. And
Hmm.
so while I was, really holding off what I wanted to, because I know I was like, I might get one episode with Evan. I want to really make sure that it's something that would
I didn't
be
know it
really
was so
beneficial.
exclusive. We
Well,
could, we could.
well, yeah, I hope maybe we can. I mean, we're 20 episodes into this, so hopefully I'll find some time in 20 more episodes. But I've been, over the last like few weeks with like holidays and schedules, I've been doing a lot of solo episodes and haven't had as many guests. So I've had to sort of rethink a little bit on what I
Hmm.
talk about. And typically when I have a guest, I have a certain amount of questions, and as I've been working through content just in different ways, and I myself have been creating content additionally for like the last 3 or 4 episodes, I've created some sort of like guide or like a Notion doc or something that went along with it as like a bonus piece. And so what I've come up against is, now that I am creating these things and putting them out there, at what point should I charge for something, or and what how long should things stay free? I know
Mm.
I've got a few particular examples that I want to ask to make that more specific. But when we're talking about content, I just want to know like, what is your immediate thoughts on, hey, I'm going to create this piece of content. I'm going to create a video of some kind. And with it is going to be a 30-day plan of some kind. Okay. It could be, maybe let's just say it's a 30-day business plan that I put together based on this video. Do I get that away for free in exchange for email addresses, or, do I put it on like my school community or whatever if I have that? Or is it something that I should charge for? Because it took time. It's a lot of value. Ideally, your free thing should be almost as good as the paid thing. So what is your distinction on creating free content versus like charging for it?
Oh, yeah, that's a great question. And there's probably not a one size fits all answer across the board for every scenario, but we've got a couple of examples and even considering breaking the mold. So we talked about lead gen for a moment as like the traditional schedule a demo, book a call, have a hard CTA, get an email address. That is one play in one playbook that you can run. It doesn't mean that it should be the only playbook. The same with gated versus ungated content. Gating your assets or your content is one play or approach that you could take. It shouldn't be the only thing you do. I'm a huge football fan. And so what I love is when my Chiefs or my Longhorns break things up a little bit, right? And so they might run a pass play multiple times in a row, but it's not the same thing every time. They get different plays for different moments. So here's an example. I oftentimes see that folks create a free thing. And then when there's enough demand and interest and feedback and testimonials, then they decide to turn it into a paid thing.
Hmm.
That is a good playbook, but it's not the only playbook. It works because it's surging on, okay, there's demand. Now there's enough demand and enough validation that we should pay for this
Yeah.
content piece.
Yeah.
But I've also done the inverse which is start with a paid thing that I know my audience wants, and then eventually make it free.
Mhm.
Here's how I decided to do that, because we had 3 or 4 different products that were paid at one point and turned them into free content, because 2 reasons. Number 1, it was solving an immediate pain point and problem, which helps someone feel good. There's
Mhm.
dopamine hit. They got a solution. It solved a pain point. And at the heart of our brand, no matter what brand or company you run, you want to solve problems for people. But number 2, I realized that solving that problem actually unlocked a bigger problem. So what you're trading there is maybe it's a couple $100 products or an entry level offer that someone would pay for. If you give that away for free, especially if it's a product and not a service, oh
Mhm.
my gosh, I get them a win. Now they're primed to want to solve a bigger, more expensive, more important problem. And guess who is their problem solver? You.
Yeah.
That is a good approach to consider. Not just the free, 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 now we make it paid, but
Mhm.
in some scenarios, it's, oh my gosh, we used to pay for this, we used to charge for this. Maybe we make
Mhm.
this free as a valuable offer that's so good, people actually used to buy it. That's a
Yeah.
solid sales pitch. People used to buy this, but now I give it away for free.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's interesting because I've definitely seen a lot of like other marketers that I follow do that same thing, and you talking
Mhm.
about those two things got me thinking of like a third option that I discovered, not really discovered, but I just was watching a video yesterday, and this guy was talking about building systems in your life, and he was building it was like a leadership system module of some kind, and he was like, I was so scared to launch it, it was only 70%. And if people kept telling me just to put it out now, like I'll never, if I wait till I get to 90%, I'll never actually get there. And so he launched it
Mhm.
immediately as a paid thing in his school community, but got feedback. He said, I can't remember how many he sold, but he sold a good bit right away and got feedback from that and added more to it later, which ended up being, the work that he did to add to it later was free because those people were already paid for it in the school community. So in a way, it's like
Right.
he put the free thing out there, or sorry, he put the paid thing out there and got immediate feedback. And sort of the anchor like offer for that was those people that paid and gave him feedback got the add-ons for free later on, and then he could sell the bigger offer later on. So I think there's a lot
Right.
of ways to go about it. Like if you, depending on the audience size, particularly, I don't think I couldn't launch something like that and it be paid right away because I don't have the audience size in a school community already. So I think there's a few other things, but I do like that you had like here's a free option. We'll ramp it up to be something paid because it's so valuable, or it's so valuable people are paying for it. I should give it away for free now, and people will see how valuable it is, and it sort of anchors it into being
Mhm.
paid. Yeah.
And if you
So
zoom out for a moment, the initial goal shouldn't be whether I make this free or paid.
yeah,
That is an important question, but it's a distinguishing question you ask later.
yeah.
The first question or statement that you should ask yourself is, how can I create the kind of content that I want people to
Hmm,
expect from me?
okay.
How can I create the kind of content that I want people to expect from me?
Mm,
I want to be the kind of person who delivers A, B, and C.
mhm.
The value, the time savings, the resource, like whatever that may be. I want to do that now. The inverse is, okay, what do I actually need to go create in order to make that statement true?
I love your wording of that because, and I'm gonna have to go back and write that down because a lot of times I think when we're trying to, I don't want to say become creators, but we're trying to do something where we create something. A lot of times you're thinking, what do I want to be known for? And sometimes
Hmm.
maybe that's not your skill set, or maybe you struggle to be known for what you want to be known for. And I like the reframing of what do people expect of me and what do I want people to expect of me. And I think that's a little bit different because
Hmm.
that kind of falls more into what your skills are versus trying to force yourself to have a skill to be known for something that maybe you're not, immediately good at, or can't, obviously you can learn anything, but some of us have skills that we're just immediately good at. And sometimes you have to hone in on those.
Yep. And usually the litmus test is, do I feel a little bit on the fence about, should I make this free or not? Like,
Mhm.
is this so good that I'm like, ooh, I could charge for this. This could be a paid template.
Yeah.
This could be a course, or this could be a thing all by itself. If you're getting to that direction, then you're probably getting to the point where, like, ooh, this is valuable enough that my audience would be clamoring for this.
Yeah. Okay. It's It's an interesting way to think about it. And I love that you mentioned templates because that opens up like a little scenario I kind of throw at you. This is actually something I'm going through right now, so I'm going to share a lot of details.
I'm
But I think,
ready.
but I think a lot of us who are, I mean, I assume that people who are out there listening are creating templates of some kind and trying to help their clients do things with templates. I hope so, at least, or maybe you're creating things for yourself at least. But I think like doing a template, giving away a template of some kind is like a pretty like normal thing. Like most people do that. So
Yeah.
I am currently in a YouTube cohort where we create videos and we help each other out and we grade each other's videos and thumbnails and descriptions and all those things. And so the teacher a few weeks ago was talking about this exact thing, creating, making a video, and then from each video trying to create something that goes along with it as like a freebie that goes
Hmm.
along with it. And then the goal is to get people into your email list, because you own your email list, and you can get a little bit more intimate through email versus trying to only reach out through other means. And so I noticed that the not everybody, but the skill level in the cohort probably had never even written an email outside of responding to one. And so I was like,
Mm.
this is a good opportunity to help out my fellow cohorts, and create a template. So I just threw out there like, hey guys, I kind of write emails for a living. I'll throw together like an email sequence for you guys that you can sort of, adapt and use. And that'll take off some of the pressure because, all these other people are not used to creating templates and content libraries and all these things. So I wanted to help them out.
Right.
And then after I said that, the people teaching reached out and was like, hey, we saw that you write emails for a living. We would love help. We would love for you to help us write emails for our next big thing that we're doing. And so they're
Ah.
like, send over a proposal, your rates and how many emails you think and what that looks like and all that kind of stuff. So first of all, I'm like, well, that's awesome. That's a really, unexpected way. And that's great because I like being in this group and I like these people. And this is, just kind of it fits all, checks all my boxes. But then I had sort of a conflict of, well, shoot, if I put this template together and it's really good and I give it to everybody else for free, the people who just wanted to pay me may not want to pay me anymore. They may just want to use the template. And which is sort of a win, because at least I know that it's valuable enough people will use it. If they can use it on their own without paying me for it, then that's kind of cool. Like that means that the template I put together is really good. It's really valuable. And
Yep.
like you just mentioned, there's probably some other avenues I could, branch off of there. But then it's like, well, do I make the template not so good? Which is obviously not, that's not an option. I want to make it,
This is the worst template you could possibly send, but
yeah.
you can send it. Yeah.
Yeah. No. So that is my obviously I made the template and sent it out anyway and gave it to everybody for free. And the people in the group, they're at a point if they're ready to pay somebody for it, maybe they're not gonna, like, maybe they still want to pay me to do it. But I'm wondering, like, what do you do when you're in that situation where it's like, I could be paid for something, or I could create something for free. Obviously, like if somebody pays me to do something, there's a lot more that goes into it. I'm not taking a template and giving it to them. We're having meetings and writing emails that are very, thought out and strategic. But you still could have somebody who is looking at that and say, well, I was going to pay, but he's got this free thing on his website. I'm just going to take it instead. How do you sort of balance between
Mm.
that? And I also want to say, at the end of the day, like, I'm only saying things that are paid because, well, we have to get paid for things. That's just the fact of the matter. So I don't want to think that we're only creating things for the sake of making money, but it is a driver. Obviously, it's a very it's a driver that we make
Yeah.
money so I just want to throw that out there. But what do you do in that situation where it's like, do I create something so good that people would rather have the free thing than pay me to do the thing?
Mm. Okay, so there's a mentor of mine who is not involved in the world of marketing at all. And he taught me a life lesson that I have adapted to pretty much every area of my life. And here's what it is: the highest motive brings the greatest motivation.
Mm.
Most folks would be like, okay, that's great. Like you put that on a sticker somewhere on a bumper. But I have turned that into one of my like core pillars of how we create content,
Mm.
both here at Scrappy and just in general. The highest motive brings the greatest motivation. So let me give you an example. If the motive is I am a roofing company, we're going to use something that everybody's got experience with, right? And I want to get them to give me their email and I'm going to give this free PDF download. That might work. You
Hmm.
could run ads to it, you can put it on your website, you'll probably get the emails. But if the goal is just I want your email, it's not a very high motive.
Yeah.
Like that is intrinsic benefit me motive versus the roofing company that would say, wow, when you get struck with hail damage, we know it's really, really hard. And so we're going to create this exhaustive guide and template with all the supplies you would need to DIY things until we can get there. Like if it's everything you might need for that scenario, oh my gosh, the content becomes more valuable, more helpful. And the motive is no longer, I just want your email.
Mhm.
I don't want just a transaction. I don't just want your money. The motive now becomes, I want you to love your home. I
Mhm.
want you to not have stress. I want you to become the kind of person who enjoys the space that they've purchased. Now, I realize that's not an ABM example. That's not specific to your example, but notice that the motive changes what kind of content you create. So if the highest motive is, I want to make money, I want an email, you'll probably get some of that, but you won't get as much of that. Is
Yeah.
if the highest motive is, I really want to help people. And usually there's two R's at play. There's relationship and there's revenue. The more you invest in relationship on the front end, the bigger the return is, like a boomerang on the
Mhm.
revenue side. If we could position an example that's scrappy ABM related, oftentimes we have paid services, consulting, done for you delivery. Trevor, you're deeply involved in a lot of that work. That is a very helpful approach. We also have webinars and workshops and all kinds of free content. But earlier this year, we decided that we were going to do an ABM in a day workshop to
Mhm.
kind of flip things on its head. And the reality was, whether paid at a very small level or free, like whatever model you go, there was nobody in our space who was delivering a complex, nuanced thing with a framework you could execute
Mhm.
all within a day. ABM is known for what? Taking a long time to see results, to get up and live, to do it, like all the things, right? And so, to our core, part of our mission, our values, who we are, is how can we get people quick wins that make an actual difference and help them become better at their jobs
Yeah.
and be more confident in what they do. So we decided, okay, with Mason's blessing, who's our founder, we're going to do a full day workshop. Like we're going to be in front of a room, oh my gosh, for like 7 to 8 hours and
Mhm.
all levels of detail break down exactly what you need to build a successful ABM program. The reality is high motive because people could just go for the initial offer and
Yeah.
not pay you long term. But what happens afterwards? Testimonials, rave reviews, sharing with their friends. And the reality is, oh my gosh, instead of cashing in and making this a $25,000 workshop, which we could do because we've charged similar rates for similar projects,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, the longer play is invest in relationship, help people get a win so that when they actually need help or support or their network does, Scrappy is the first brand that comes to mind.
Yeah.
So I think that's the motive. Like the higher the motive, the greater the motivation, the more helpful you are in the process.
Yeah. I mean, that's the I know this isn't the only way, but I mean, to me, that's like the exact like StoryBrand play. Like StoryBrand has
Hmm.
given so much away for so many years. And when you, I mean, what's crazy is I went to see Christmas lights on Sunday and met a guy that I used to work with years ago. He was just there. He doesn't even live here. He just came here, and we were just talking about what we've been doing. And I mentioned StoryBrand, and he was like, "I love that book." And I had no idea that he was even in the sphere. But it's just been crazy that I like that first book that I read. I can't remember when it maybe came out in 2015, but I think I read it for the first time in like 2017, and still like fall back on that. It's still a valuable place that people still go, like
Yep.
that motive to just make like marketing seem easy. And what's I think what people maybe don't realize is like you've probably seen ads and you hear it, but like in 2017, right before I became a guide, when I read the book, I remember I had to read it twice. I had to read it the second time before I even realized that there was a call to action to become a guide in the book. So I think that kind of shows
Hmm.
like the motive. If the higher motive is the motivation, like you mentioned, like there's so much value, and you're pulling so much away from this that it might take twice before you even realize that they were asking me to buy something from them because
Yep.
so that is I think a proven thing that obviously takes a lot of work. I mean, you guys a whole day to do a workshop is pretty wild, but I mean, for ABM though, that's like unheard of. That's like you just like time warped. It takes 30
Yeah.
days, to get.
And there's probably a middle ground in here because oftentimes we love the extremes, right? Everything is gated or everything is ungated. everything is paid or everything is free. We love a simple dichotomy where it's like black and white.
Yeah.
If you enter into gray territory for a moment, you could also introduce a logical reason to provide an email address or contact information.
Hmm.
Email, text, like phone number, whatever it is. Oftentimes what happens is we are smart consumers and we're like, oh my gosh, do you really need all that information from me just so I can get a PDF?
Yeah.
Maybe not.
Yeah.
But if there's a logical reason for me to provide my contact information, it doesn't trigger that, ooh, I'm going to get hit with all the things. So, for example, if I'm attending a new church and I pre register my kids for classes on Sunday,
Hmm.
I'm going to be happy to give my email address if
Yeah.
they tell me we're going to email you a pamphlet for you to know, we're going to give you stickers when you show up at the door. Like, there's a logical reason that my email address is being handed over to them.
Hmm.
Or if you think outside of it, like another scenario, oh my gosh, we're going to produce a podcast on a weekly basis.
Hmm.
And oftentimes we're going to take questions from the audience before that episode goes live. I can't actually ask you a question if I don't have your contact information. Sign
Yeah.
up here. I'll give you the Q&A the day before so we can get your questions and we can adjust our content directly. Like, oh my gosh, that's actually for my benefit.
Yeah.
Then you're requesting and getting contact information, and people are like, that's actually what I want. It's great if you can have a scenario that has a logical reason for
Yeah.
there to be an exchange of value and contact information.
Yeah, that also reminds me of because we do this a lot with our clients too, where we're kind of like, how can we anchor this free thing to, like, what is the upsell that's not actually an upsell because they're not buying, but it's an upsell to just get their information. And I think you can do a kind of like, there's an immediate reason to give information, or there could be like a light version, and then the free version is still free, but we need information. And I want to give I'll give a quick example. A freelance client I used to have was a private jet charter company, and their whole like algorithm was based on finding private jets that were just sitting somewhere running with nowhere to go, basically. So like if you were going to fly from, St. Louis to me, and let's just say you're going to fly to me to Huntsville, well, let's find a private jet that's sitting in St. Louis somewhere, but it's got to go to Nevada, and it's basically like a layover system. But basically, there's a plane in Nevada that's already going to that already needs to go to Huntsville for a next leg of its flight. So basically, like, they're just trying to find you the cheapest way, and you can go on their website and type in where you're going and the days and all those things, right? And they'll give you a price. However, there you go. That's all you needed. If you want to book them, sign up. However, if you want to have more options, like, will food be available? And I want a certain type of jet. I don't want, I need to know how many, like, more information, like obviously seats and where you're going, but those little intricate details, well, you can give them your email address and they'll send you like a follow-up with more questions about, do you want food? Do you want, maybe you want a different kind of flight? Maybe what happens if you want to add another day to your trip? Like those kind of things. Like, so it's kind of like you can get the estimate for free, and you can even get more free things by just getting your email address with some follow-up information, and they can put together a more get a better estimate by giving you that information. Still free. You still haven't paid for, they've given you all that information for free. So now it's up to you if you want to go with them or use a competitor or whatever. But I think that example and the example you gave about like scrappy aiming a day is sort of you found something that needed to be that like the audience was looking for, and we were able to fill that, and it's sort of unique thing. And it was that quick win in the realm of ABM, which, takes a day at least. So what do you kind of do in a very crowded space? And this is another scenario I want to run you through, because, and maybe this is I'm going to say that the person doing this has a very high motive. They truly do want to help somebody, but all these people who are on, Twitter or X or Threads, who are creating guides on how to do things. And if I don't know if you're on Threads or if you're on X, but if you scroll through that, every other one is like, I built a content system in 30 days, or I built a profitable business in 90 days. Here's how, it's all these things. And some of them are free guides and some of them are $5 or $10 things that they have sold, through like Stand Store or through Gumroad. And so I'm wondering, when you look at that though, and you're like, man, have a I grew my account. I could write a guide on it, but there's already 50 of those out there. What do I do to sort of like, you know, put that out there and create something and either offer it for free or make it paid? Like, how do you kind of like, and this gets into more of like a
Hmm.
marketing, how do I stand out kind of question. But if you're in that position and you've got all these things that you could create, do you go for and make everything free because everybody else is charging $5 for theirs? Or do you charge for it because it's valuable and you just continue to sort of carve out your audience? Like, what would be your approach to that?
Ooh, so I got three quick thoughts. Hopefully they're helpful. We've talked about StoryBrand a couple of times. Folks who are listening might or may not be familiar, but the whole crux of the StoryBrand framework is if you confuse, you lose. You want to make things clear.
Hmm.
I think clear is helpful, but it's also a baseline. So, for example, we just got a new dog. Trevor, you're aware of this. It's a pug.
Yeah.
We're a pug family. When we lost our dog earlier this year, I knew we were going to get a dog. And here's how I knew we were going to get a new dog. My wife, Hannah, started sending me pet finder ads.
Yeah.
If you are a spouse, you've been in this spot before. I'm like, okay, we're getting a dog, clearly. I now get to speak into what kind of dog we got. And just because it was clear that it was a St. Bernard in the ad didn't mean I wanted a St. Bernard, right? I'm like,
Mhm.
I don't want that. Clear is helpful, but it's baseline. The second tier of messaging for the content we create is it needs to be compelling, which is I understand what this is and I want that thing. And then if it's clear and compelling, the third tier is it has to be relevant, which is I understand how what you're offering is different than everyone else.
Mhm.
When it comes to your content, my recommendation is the closer you get to relevant, where it's clear and it's compelling and it's different than everyone else, that is the territory where you can start entertaining. Maybe this should be a free offer, or maybe this should be a paid offer. You need to make sure that your content is relevant, which is number one, because different is better than better.
Mhm.
A friend of mine is named Todd outlined this idea that I'm like in brand positioning and the content we create. You don't want to be better, you want to be different. Scrappy ABM is clearly different
Mhm.
because where people rely on tech stack for ABM, or they rely on long cycles to get things started, or they're building things without a simplified framework, or they start with just a target account list. Scrappy ABM is different. You want to be different, you don't want to be better.
Mhm.
And the more different you are, I mean, you want to have good stuff, but
Yeah.
the more you can position your stuff as different, the more unique and memorable it will be.
Mhm.
And then you can start to say, ooh, what does that look like?
Yeah.
Um, and the third thing, the way you get there is you say something like, whereas our competitors blank, we prefer to blank.
Mm.
Whereas, and it's not just about like villainizing the competition, but you could say
Yeah.
like, whereas folks doing ABM take a really long time to get started and don't see results for a long time. Scrappy ABM starts with a framework and the quickest win possible in
Yeah.
order to get you a win. And then you can start to say, ooh, if that's our theme, let's put all of the content topics out on a table or a Notion doc or Excel doc, and then start to say what should be the paid versus the free offer. And don't be afraid to intertwine those.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to start free and then move paid, or start paid and then move free.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. And I mean, some of that you just mentioned, I think just a lot of that just comes down to just like psychology and just sort of understanding. Cause like you mentioned, like
Hmm.
where our competition does this, we prefer to do this. And you're not necessarily dragging anybody else through the mud. You're just talking about how you do things differently. And I started thinking like, as you were talking, how can you do that for a just if you're trying to build a personal brand? And I just thought, well, you can do that easily without. I don't have to like make
Hmm.
any other content creator or writer or anything on like LinkedIn feel bad or like try to like bring them. I can literally say a lot of people start out this way, and this is the way I prefer to work, and that's all you have to do. You don't have to say like a lot of people start off with ignoring you for 4 weeks, and then like obviously you're not going to say anything bad. Just say a lot of people,
Right.
maybe prefer to get right into writing. They prefer to do these things. I like to take 2 weeks to really get to know you and do a content audit. And maybe that's maybe people don't want to take 2 weeks. Maybe they want to get right into writing. That just kind of helps carve out your audience inside that you want. I mean, obviously with ABM, a lot of people would love to just blast ads to the entire world and do it today. And with ABM, we're like, what if we take 6 weeks and we only send ads to 150 people, you know?
Yeah, it's a little bit different.
But it works. But that, I mean, if that's what you want to accomplish, if you want account-based marketing, that's what you have to do. You have to know who you're going after. So it's not a bad thing. Obviously, you know, if you see a billboard for Coke, it works. I mean, they put up the same Santa Claus drinking a Coke billboard, you know, for 100 years.
Or the polar bears.
Yeah.
Or the polar bears.
Yeah. Or the polar bears. And you're like, all of a sudden, a crispy Coke sounds really good right now. You know, so obviously it works, you know, you just have to know what you want. And Coke is probably not an ABM client, but you know.
Yeah. And what I would say is if you are just getting started out and you have zero content assets, you probably start with free. You probably start with free because you need to validate, you need product market fit, you need to generate demand. Like there's a whole bunch of reasons why you should probably lead with more free content than more paid content. If you're talking about purchasing a product, for example, your example is product focused. Mm-hmm. You probably want a lot more free stuff to be valuable and helpful and prove that there's demand. And if you just have a ton of paid stuff as products listed on your website, unless you're Amazon, you probably don't have people just coming to find things to buy.
Yeah.
And you're going to have a little bit of a disconnect.
Yeah. Yeah. That's great advice. It's all about like carving out that space and putting it out there. I mean, I think there should be a blend. I feel myself doing it the same. I'll go to somebody's website and they have a bunch of like paid products or, you know, like templates and stuff. And I'm like, I wish I knew what it was like before I bought this. Like, where's the I'll even do the $5 version. I'm not ready to jump into the $100 version yet. So I think there's ways to make a light or a free version work really well and get feedback and validation, like you said, and add to it. But this has been a super great conversation. I think that this could go on and on. I probably will take you up in the offer. Maybe for episode 40, come back and we do a second.
Let's
do a second one. Thank you so much, Evan, for coming on here. I know that it is early in the morning, but you've been obviously you've always been a gracious educator and willing to share anything with everybody. And so I greatly appreciate you for taking the time to come on here this morning.
I appreciate the invite. And for anybody who's listening, if it's before Thanksgiving, I hope you have a chance to really enjoy time with family. We're excited for a couple of days off over the next couple of days as we hit the holidays. Thanks, Trevor.
If it's after Thanksgiving, hope you had a good one.
That too.
Yeah. We'll see you guys next week. Thank you so much. We'll talk to you later.